the kitchen of intrigue, Curt Jackson and Chris Callell are cooking up a batch of mystery soup.
Each episode serves a new blend of tips, tactics, trends, and tales from the business and design sides of the escape room world.
So grab your spoon, because this episode starts in 3, 2, 1.
Mystery Soup. Welcome back to Mystery Soup Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Chris. How's it going, Chris?
How are you?
Good.
You're looking
Good.
dashing today.
As always.
As
on
always.
The man.
I love seeing what new stuff you keep adding to your place every time we podcast. You get new wall decor.
The escape room magnet board back there.
Just keeps growing.
Yeah. But I'm excited to have some special guests on today.
Yeah.
This is great. I've been waiting to have these two on just because I had such a good time when I went to their place. But basically we have Christine and Jeremiah from Exit Games OC. And thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So it's Exit Games OC. Is that like the official name?
It's Exit Game.
Exit Game.
Okay. There's no S. The wonderful place in Florida has the S. We don't have.
Okay.
We don't have the S. We're actually technically.
We only have one game anyway, so we're Exit Game.
Yeah, right.
Fair.
We only have one. We're fair. Exit Game. We put Exit Game OC when we originally opened because at the time when we took over the Anaheim location, we wanted to identify ourselves as Exit Game OC because there was Exit Game still in San Diego. That location has long closed, but we wanted something to identify ourselves as us a little more than being confused with the San Diego location.
Right. That makes sense.
Is OC Orange County? Is that the
correct?
Yeah. Chris is from
Illinois, Midwest. We don't
Indiana, right? So he's like, I don't know. I don't understand this whole Southern California thing.
That's right.
But yeah, I had a great time. I remember when Tina and I came to your place and you two came out. You were excited to see us, and that just made us feel so good. And after the game, we talked for a while, and you had this geocache. Chris, when he does something at his camp, at his summer camp, he goes above and beyond. And I felt like that was yours too. It was just kind of above and beyond.
There's this TikToker. You'll find him if you Google geocaching on TikTok, because I'm assuming you also have TikTok. If you don't have the geocaching app, you certainly have the TikTok app. But it's this really great content creator who goes and does all these fun puzzle caches.
Is he guy?
Okay.
Does he have the swooped hair too?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I follow him.
It's so fun because
Chris
it's so
loves TikTok.
inspiring to see the stuff that people come up with.
Yeah.
Especially for puzzle creators, because people will come up with these things and you're like, wait, but how did they do it? We actually had one of the ladies shared in the women's escape room owners Facebook group the other day, a duck geocache.
Tina showed me that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, well, how does it work? And it really gets your brain working in different ways.
I feel like some of those people are going to start unscrewing like fence posts and things that are not supposed to be.
I have taken apart a water sprinkler before.
Just because you're like, oh, it's got to be here.
And I was like, oops, that wasn't it.
So introduce yourselves. I want to know how you guys met. Do you have pets? Do you have kids? Do you have any of that?
I'm Christine. We have two adorable cat baby girls, Bagheera and Stitch. One of them, well, they both are on the social media, but it's under Bagheera Fun. If you want to see our baby fluffy girls, you'll probably hear them at some point. Nice. And I'll let my husband Jeremiah tell the rest.
Yes, I'm her husband Jeremiah. We met online about almost 14 years ago.
An online success story.
Yeah, we met on eHarmony. We started talking back and forth, and then eventually we started dating, and then finally got married. Well, our 10-year wedding anniversary will be in June.
Hey, awesome. Congrats. Yeah, it's awesome.
But what's interesting is there's this really fun correlation between being married and escape rooms. We discovered escape rooms right when we got back from our honeymoon. So we've been doing escape rooms almost as long as we've been married, and it's been a whole part of our marriage. You know, it's been a big part of our marriage, and what we really enjoy and love and are fascinated by. Discovering escape rooms was pretty mind blowing at the time because we thought we were going to a haunted house. We saw this post for the Purge, the second Purge movie was doing a promotion. Nice. And it was $25 a person. And we're like, that is really expensive for a haunt, but we'll go check it out. And they locked us in a truck and put us in the back of a trailer where we tried to get out. We didn't get out, so we got shot. And we were like, this is the most incredible thing we've ever seen in our entire lives. And then just kind of went on from there. Yeah.
Nice.
Do you know your number? How many you've done?
Oh, I don't. I'm almost at 600. Wow. I'm not great at keeping track of everything. Christine's a little better.
No, I'm not.
But she's not any better.
I'm worse.
She's pulling up her Morty.
I'm looking at Morty. Right. Morty says 702, so somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. Ridiculous. Are you guys big Purge fans? Have you seen them all?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the Purge. I think it's such a fascinating world, especially once we into the little home invasion story that the first one is, and you get into the larger society and how people handle it and what it really means, what the statements are saying about the poor and how we handle the poor and people's nature and the ridiculousness of it. I mean, really, that's not how it's going to be. We know it's not, but I love the ridiculousness of horror, which is really what influences kind of our game. We poked fun at the ridiculousness of escape rooms. So I like the silliness of the Purge, especially as the Purge evolves into the different movies, and it gets more and more ridiculous.
What would I do, right? You're like, what would I do in that situation? Where would I be? But
sure, yeah,
hiding.
I would be murdering people.
Hiding.
No, you wouldn't, Chris. You'd be under your desk.
I'm going down to Florida. I'm gonna find Curt and taking him out.
Oh, that hurts my soul.
That's the way. So 700, 500-ish, 600-ish. That's amazing. That's incredible. You got any like big standouts, big favorites you like?
Ministry of Peculiarities, Hope End. I really, really like that game a lot.
Yeah.
I was excited I got to introduce it at one of the awards. Not that recently now, but yeah. But I really think that they have something special in their creation. Their storytelling is unique. Their actors are unique. There's a replayability factor that's unique. When I say replayability, I mean different than like the ladder. That replayability is very different than Hope. But still, it has the ability to go back. More like Hex Room, where you could go do it again. You'll see different things, but their endings can change, which is really cool. So I really, really love that game. And the people over there are just the kindest, most
wonderful human beings on the planet.
Humans.
They're such nice guys.
So
nice.
Such nice guys. Yeah, they really are.
And then obviously Dwayne's games at 13th Gate in Baton Rouge. Like, I feel like you don't even have to tell people that they're special anymore. Everybody knows them.
Yeah.
They're a legend in the industry.
And we were very early on to see his first two games. We saw them right after he had opened them. And this would have been 2015. And at that point, escape rooms were still just boxes in the corner. Mm-hmm. And to walk into these sets that were mind-blowing, full-on prison cell with an electric chair and hidden passageways, and we hadn't seen anything like it. Mm-hmm. And so there's a special place in our heart because of just how amazing it was. That experience was such a long time ago.
We've found that haunt builders know set design. They've got the skills to do it, and it's awesome that a few of them have transitioned into escape rooms and brought that experience with them. It's very cool. So as far as like the business, are there any that kind of stand out for you as far as like not the rooms, but like everything other than the rooms? Does anybody do it right?
I'll speak locally because they're really the ones that I know better than outside of SoCal. Two that really stand out for me are Mission and Wild Goose, and I'll tell you why. Whenever there's a group that comes in that's only played one game before, they're always going to say either Mission or Wild Goose, and that means that those two places know how to get people that aren't escape room people into their business, and I think that's such an important part of running an escape room. Stop targeting people that play escape rooms. They're going to find you. Find a way to get out to everybody else, to market to them, to convince them to come try it. And that's why I really admire those two because of that. And I think they actually have good games. I do, especially when Wild Goose started building some of their own games. Their old Fox and Box games are fine, but they're old cookie cutter games. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But I do really, really appreciate them more and more when I hear, oh yeah, I've played one before. It was at Wild Goose. Or I played one before. It was at Mission.
I think the escape game is a really good example of a well-done business that's an escape room business. They really are business first, which is hard to do when you're passionate and you're creating a project that you love for everybody to come and enjoy versus running a good business. Those are not the same thing.
Right.
Having an amazing escape room that enthusiasts will love and people will enjoy doesn't always equal a good business plan.
Yeah.
It's hard to do both of those things and to be able to expand the way they have. And the way that they're able to have this amazing social media presence, and they're just known everywhere. And even their name is just perfect marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, literally,
it's true.
They're the escape game, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So tell us a little bit about the Exit Game OC. How'd you guys get started?
So, pandemic was winding down, and Christine got a phone call from Jeff Sin, who had opened up Exit Game in Monterey Park and Exit Game in San Diego. He explained to Christine that he was closing the entire business, and he had this location in Anaheim that had permits and walls, but nothing else. And if there was somebody that wanted to just go build their own games, they could bypass a lot of the difficulty of opening an escape room. Christine said, absolutely not, talk to my husband. And so I talked to Jeff. We talked about it a lot. I was working a job that was providing for us, but I wasn't necessarily happy. It was a job that I had fallen into because I had originally moved out to LA to work in movies and kind of but wasn't making a ton, and got into a job that provided for us a little more. So I'd stuck with it. And the opportunity to do something creative was really appealing to me. So we ended up doing it. And it's something that we can do together and work on and be creative, and something that we love and something that means so much to us because, as I mentioned, escape rooms really are kind of part of our marriage at this point. They've been with us as long as we've been married. So it was really quite an opportunity, and we enjoyed being able to take that opportunity.
Wow. Yeah. The game that you have now, all the walls were set up. You configured that game around what was set up.
We designed our game around, originally Jeff was going to have it be like a Saw game, right? That was like his idea, like an actual like scary actor in the room grabbing you through walls and stuff. And we were like, that's cool. Thanks for the plans.
Yeah.
We'll take it into consideration, but we would rather do something a little more in line with our humor and our storytelling.
Yeah.
And so we created our own puzzles, and we designed the story in the game around the walls that were up and the doors that were up and everything. And we went in and then kind of turned that space into a similar theme, but very different game than what he'd originally thought he would put in there. Like, we don't have the tunnel that goes through the entire game. because I was like, we're not going to do that.
Thank you.
Instead, we put in needless crawling. We still put in the crawling because we had to.
Right.
It's an escape room. But we put in that little tiny, tiny bit as more of a gag than anything else.
Right. And that's where I say, Tina, go. I'm not. The game itself, because it was already up, it seems large. Do you know how many square feet it is?
It's about 930.
Oh, it is big then. It is big.
Very big.
That's something that, as we look at spaces right now to build our own business, I mean, this question is very selfish. A question for me is like, how big is it? And we've seen games that have been really small, 200 square feet, that still are really good. But as we look for spaces, the leasing fees are expensive. Do we go with the smaller room? Do we go with the larger room? And obviously, everybody wants to go with as large as they can, but it's not practical in a lot of cases. So that's why I was asking, because it seemed to go on. Yeah.
And it does. And it will be, it is our largest game. The other games, although they really won't, the game in the middle is going to be about 750.
That's
and then
still big.
The last game's about 600. So it does continually go down, but we really are going to try to still make it have the illusion of lots of things to open, doors,
Right.
little areas to see, continuously give that feel that you're always moving into a new space, because people really like that.
Yeah, that's true.
No, that is the number. If we go to an escape room and it's just one room, I'm disappointed. Like, I like the next room. I don't know. There's something about it. Just makes it
the
fun.
One question we get more than any other question is, how many rooms is that?
Oh, is that right?
There's a room in SoCal that's enormous, but it's just one big room. And a lot of people are very disappointed by that. They get really let down, because they'll see his advertising says he's the largest game in SoCal. And I think he really is. He's not lying about that.
It's a big space.
It is the largest game in SoCal that I know of. But there's just one room, and people are always kind of like, there's just one room.
It's like there's a sense of accomplishment by opening that. I don't know. There's something about it.
There is.
Like
there
a sense
really
of exploration,
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing.
Well,
that you
it's
really
the
like
difference of watching a movie if they're just going to be in one location the entire time, or if they go out and more of the world is unlocked.
Yeah.
Usually, depending on the movie and depending on how well it's written, you feel a lot better when you get to see more.
It's why you like the later Purge movies.
It's why I like it's why I like to go back to the Purge. It's why I like the later Purge movies. Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
I run a summer camp, and we put a room in here, and it's got 4 different rooms, and we have a lot of newbies that here in Indiana that are like, they've never done rooms before. And so sometimes mine is their first. And it always amazes me, after about 10 minutes, when they open that first door, they think they're done. They're like, oh, we got out. Like, it's only been 10 minutes. Like, did you think
we get
you
that
had?
sometimes.
We hear that too.
We get people that we tell them you're starting apart, but you'll come together and you'll finish the game together. And they'll get out of the first section where they're split, and they're like, wait, there's more?
Yeah.
We're like, we literally told you there will be more.
They thought they finished it in 10 minutes. Geniuses. Love it. So who does all the tech stuff? How'd you learn that?
I do. Yeah, I do all the tech. I have a somewhat of a background in code, but not with hardware. So I learned all of the hardware when we opened the game. I bought one of those kits to learn a Raspberry Pi, and I crammed through all of those lessons until I was comfortable and understood the sensors, and then started to go from there. I learned Node-RED there's an escape room enthusiast named Alistair. I can't remember his last name.
Yeah.
Playful technology.
Yeah, Playful Tech. And he has a nice little tutorial on Node-RED.
Yeah.
Node-RED is just JavaScript basically. So I was able to take that foundation and then build off from it.
Nice. Okay.
Able to make Node-RED work for us. But it was a lot of trial and error. We had some major, major mistakes in the beginning. I didn't understand very simple things, like how to use resistors and diodes and the true importance of those. And we would have moments where a maglock would open and then the end lights would start because
Mhm.
we would get bounced back, and I had to really quickly go back into the book and look and see and figure out what kind of resistor to use and why I was getting the reactions that I was getting.
You didn't have anybody to like reach out to that could help you out with this? I mean, it was all
Not
self-taught.
really.
Yeah.
Not really. I did. We had we so we had this issue where our motion sensor was going off randomly, and we couldn't figure out what was happening. We actually had Luke from Crossroads come over
Mhm.
and to try to see if he could help debug. And the air conditioning kicked on, and he was sitting on the wall, and he's like, "I think your air conditioning's kicking off your motion sensor." So we had to make some
Really?
adjustments, and we went from there.
The guys in
Oh.
ministry also.
And the guys from Ministry, that was a little bit later, but the guys from Ministry also, I revamped the control panel at the end of last year so that it could be a little cleaner, a little easier to access because we were going out of town and I wanted the game masters to be able to very simply switch out an SD card if something went wrong. And doing so, I made a pretty significant mistake consolidating everything. And the guys from Ministry helped talk to me through and walk me through
Nice.
some of that
Yeah.
too. So I did have some people to reach out to, but building it was me
Yeah.
and my mistakes and learning from my mistakes and kind of going from there. And I'm looking forward to the second game because I can take some of that and make new mistakes.
Right,
Mhm.
But at least not make the same mistakes that I made the first time.
It does amaze me, the tech stuff. Usually the biggest mistakes are the simple things like the resistors. When I jumped in, I like jumped in the middle. Like I got most of this figured out. And then it's like, oh, all my problems are at the beginning. All these little things that I need to
They
fix.
absolutely are. They really are. And that was my revelation as well,
Mhm.
was that it was the simple things that I thought could just kind of be ignored that weren't
Yep.
needed, that were so
And they are
crucially
very important.
Yeah.
And so do you on the game master side of things, do you run a certain software for that?
It's all done
That
through Node Red.
it is all done through Node-RED, and that's working for you and
Working great.
awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
Node Red is wonderful. It's very lightweight, very easy to use. You have to build your own UI, which sucks because I make UI way too complicated. So the new game is going to be much
Is
easier.
that user interface?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He likes to make sure we have the ability to do all the things.
So I gave the game masters everything.
They don't need that much
They know
control.
when every little puzzle, where they're at in every puzzle, and every little, it's all pops up, and it's overwhelming. Nobody can figure out what to do. So the next time it's going to be very streamlined. It's going to say whether or not the puzzle's been solved.
You need
Cool.
user interfaces.
Yeah.
One for when you run games and one
Right.
for when I run games.
Right. One of the things that I loved about your rooms, and I've seen it only like one other room, but is and not to give any spoilers, when everybody comes back together and you're looking at certain things and people doing stuff. And I thought, this is so cool because it just made it feel like it was even bigger and that there were, without having live actors, there were actors kind of thing. And I just loved that whole effect. So was that hard to figure out?
The technical elements of it were a little challenging.
Yeah.
Christine, luckily, has such an amazing eye for video. So setting up those videos was, I think,
It was easy.
easy for her. Yeah, I
It was
was going to
easy.
say,
It was really
don't say
easy.
easy. For
I-
me,
So
there's
cool.
no way. There's no way I could figure out how to do it.
Right,
I just-
hours.
I looked
hours.
at it and I was like, oh, this is what I need to do. And this is the framing. And it was not hard. It's hard to
Nice.
teach that to somebody. It
Okay.
just comes, I think, from having that
Alright.
ability to see things and then,
If we ever do it, we'll fly you out.
well, or if you have a photographer friend, a photographer can look at it and see it. and I
He
think
doesn't
that's-
have friends. It's
Wow.
just
It's sad, but Chris is my only
Um,
friend.
that's it.
But yeah, I think the most difficult part was figuring out why it kept shutting off.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it would just sometimes shut off.
So, if you do something like this, don't get complicated, buy those automatic picture frames, a cheap one that'll just come on when the power comes on.
But plays video.
And plays video, and use large SD cards. Don't use mini SD cards in the adapters. For whatever reason, those die out. And it took us about a year to realize that. But
interesting.
Once we moved to the full-size SD cards, we haven't had any issues.
So weird.
But they come with the small ones for whatever reason.
Of
The
course.
small ones with the adapters, so that's what we were using. But don't do that. Just get the big ones, and you'll be
all right. Yeah. So you two designed this game, right?
Yeah.
How difficult was that as far as like the process of coming up with everything?
It was our first game.
Right.
I think the difficult part was reeling us in.
Did a lot of that reach the final version?
No. Some of it reached the final version and then beta tested out of it too. So there was that where you're like, this is a good idea. And then you see people play it and you're like, that was a bad idea. Let's change it.
Right.
Which is why beta testing is very important. If you're an escape room owner and you're listening to this, beta testing is very important. Please don't make me pay to do it.
Yeah.
We did about 8 weeks of beta testing. Beta testing.
Was very
important to us. And it was also...
That might be excessive.
But at the time, though, because we were first-time owners and had never game mastered before, it was also a chance for us to learn the fine art of game mastering. And there really is an art form to game master.
Yep.
That I don't think everybody understands. It's not that you just walk in and watch a game. You have to understand how to prompt people in a certain way and understand how to read people. And so the beta testing taught us that as well, and taught us that maybe the way we thought wasn't quite how everybody thought.
Yeah.
And gave us the chance to change some things.
Well, part of it too is genuinely there's a fear for us, or was a fear for us, that if we opened the game and it wasn't ready and people didn't like it or didn't make sense, it's much harder to recover from a bad Yelp score than to just give yourself enough time to make sure your game is ready for paying customers.
Yeah.
Than to let people play it because you're like, well, I've got to get going. Like, because there's people get in that place of like, well, I've got to get open. I've got to start making money because I've got to pay rent. And they'll open before they're ready. We were blessed that we were in a situation where we were able to still afford to pay our rent and not be in that fear place. Because our fear was like, if we open, we're not ready, then how do you recover from a bad reputation versus making sure that you're at least as good as you're going to get for now.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't happen as much as it used to, but people will open a game and we'll go play it early because we're excited because we play lots of games, and you'll pay to go play this game. And you'll get out in like 15 minutes and be like, wow, that was a lot of pieces of paper with writing on it.
I want half of my money back at least.
How long did you beta test? They're like, you're the first people to ever play it.
No.
And you paid, $40 a person to come in, and
horrible.
We're like, okay. So
Tina and I always talk about we will wait at least 2 months before
that's
playing.
A good rule of thumb for especially enthusiasts. Like, give the game time to get on its feet. It's a baby. Let it learn to walk first.
Just a little baby.
Well, and Madison over at Crossroads is wonderful, but she will still yell at us for coming too early to play Funhouse, because we played Funhouse at the day it opened, and they were changing things as soon as we left. She's still like, why didn't you guys just wait? Why don't you wait and see it when it was really ready? So we do. We wait now.
Yeah.
But my thing to owners is, well, don't open until it's ready then. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, in her case, it was just a little change. It wasn't a big thing. But for a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, I wish you would have waited to come play like 6 months when it was really ready. And I'm like, if it took you 6 months to get it really ready for us to see it, then you probably shouldn't have been open for at least one of those months.
True. No, true.
Was the theme always there? Were you ever thinking, hey, we're going full on horror sometimes? Or
from the moment we took over, I was really passionate about making a game that was self-aware. It wasn't fully fleshed out yet. Christine really helped uh, with the fleshing out of what became finally the 13th Basement. But I love storytelling that's self-aware, and I wanted an escape room that was self-aware. And that was the first thing I thought of when we took over.
So did this come from you being a casting director for those horror movies?
I think partially.
Yeah.
I adore, I wouldn't even call them bad, but some people would call them bad, but cheesy, ridiculous, low budget horror films. I absolutely adore them, everything about it. And there is that influence in the 13th
Yeah,
base.
for sure, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, with you, with that background, and with Christine obviously being the haunt girl, I mean, horror is just in the blood, right? So it makes sense that you would do a game like you did, and why it would work, why you were the two that could make that game.
The hardest part is explaining to people that it's the game that it is, not the game that they think we should have made.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because to us, it is the game we should have made. It is the
Yeah.
self-aware parody horror game. That's
Right.
that's the game that we wanted. But people think, well, you're the haunt girl and you worked with scary movies. It must be really, really scary. You're scarier than 17th door haunted house, right? And we're like, no,
No.
that's not at all what we wanted to make. And they're like, you're going to tase
Yeah.
us and shock us and make us wear electric dog collars and all the things that everybody does
Mhm.
that's scary, right? And we're like, no, that's not at all what we wanted to do. If people watch my content, they would know that that's not my style. I am not an
Right.
extreme haunt passionate person. There are owners or past owners that were very into extreme haunts, and they never created an extreme escape room either, actually.
But certainly some of the newer owners have.
Well, one of the
Mhm.
owners, he used to be an owner in SoCal, was like in a documentary about extreme haunts. But his rooms were very puzzle heavy,
They were puzzle games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people will come in and they know, and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait! You're gonna scare my pants off." And we're like, did you read what the game is that you're coming to play,
Right.
or
Right.
just assumed because you think you know our style that we would want to just scare everybody like senseless?
But Christine, you're an entertainer, right?
Yeah,
So
but my
you
primary focus is mostly comedy and entertainment. Like, I used to be a stand-up.
right. How important is that in your future projects? There's going to be humor
I
in those games as
prefer
well.
humor.
Yeah.
We'll have humor in everything. It's just part of us. It's
Yeah.
part of being around us, and our personalities are going to shine through what we build. And because we're always making jokes, always laughing about something, that's how our games are going to be. They're going to not be completely serious.
The DC versus Marvel. Marvel always has a little bit of humor, helps out
Yeah.
the dark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but you guys have this 3-person minimum. Tell us a little bit why 3. That's a kind of it is an odd number actually, but
Literally.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. A couple of reasons. One is there is a puzzle that very much is a 3-person puzzle. It's not impossible for 2 people to do, but it's challenging, and you have to think outside of how the puzzle was designed to be able to do it with only 2. Also, 3 people is more money. It's really difficult
It's a business
to run. What we got hit with when we originally opened, we had a 2-person minimum to pay for 2 people, and we would have entire Saturdays with just 2 people teams throughout the entire day. And it was killing us because Saturday is where you make about 70% of your revenue. And when that is all done with 2-player teams, and you'd get phone calls, you would literally get phone calls throughout the day. Hey, I've got 8 people. Do you have anything open? And we'd be like, well, we've just put 3 people through in the last 4 time slots, but no, because we're booked with all 2-player teams. And when that happened, we moved to 2 people on weekdays.
Mhm.
And then we kind of just pushed all that out, and we've haven't been happier. We We occasionally get a 2-player team, but it's very rare. We find that people enjoy the game more when they can have that third person. That third person adds a certain element that can just reduce some of the stress of some of the puzzles that is really important to the enjoyment of the game.
So you didn't want to go 4-person? Because it seems like most places that's kind of that are gonna have a minimum, they go to 4.
We've always gone in the mindset when we price out our game that we're going to make what we need to survive, but we're still going to try to give the best deal that we can. We're also $1 cheaper than almost all the games in the area. And that's from a mindset of a previous job I worked at. That's how we price things out. I was taught very early on that when you price things out, you price it as still making the profit that you can, the best profit you can, but you go in as tight as you can. And that's kind of how we still run it. As an escape room, not as selling product, but as an escape room.
Right. But it's expensive to run a business because you got the staffing, the marketing, the insurance, and all the other expenses. And so with that one game, are you able to cover all that?
We cover everything with the one game. We don't profit. We're still working our other jobs right now to live. But the escape room, for the most part, the escape room does pay all of the bills of the escape room. It pays for the employees. Now it doesn't pay for the new games to be built. We're still paying out of pocket
from us
for that, which can be a little stressful. But hopefully, eventually, that will start to pay us back. But we're very blessed, and I understand that, and I'm very grateful. And a lot of that comes from marketing. A lot of it comes from our passion for escape rooms, and that just shines through in the game. And also, we lucked out because of this location that fell in our lap. The rent is incredibly cheap compared to everywhere else around. Everybody else that we talk to, they're amazed at the rent that we get, and that helps a lot.
We have the most amazing landlord. He's the nicest human on the planet.
So lucky.
His wife is nice. We
just renewed the lease with him, and I was terrified to renew this lease because I didn't know what to expect. And I gave what we desired, which is to pretty much keep what we have. And he said, okay, nice. I'll send over the new lease. And we're like, oh.
Wow.
Part of you's like, I should have asked for less.
So
you're on the Christmas list.
We're just blessed. It's wonderful. It's wonderful that we were able to have this opportunity and we're able to keep going as we're going.
Now, I don't know that the average location could survive on one game for a long time.
Yeah.
With pay staff.
Rent. Yeah.
I think if you only have one game, you have to have the most amazing location to keep it busy enough. And to have the most amazing location, your rent's going to be higher.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
For the most part. And so I don't think that it's a sustainable business plan for people if they're like listening, thinking, well, I'm just going to open one room and that's going to be the end of it. Like, I'm just going to run a business with one room and we're going to be rolling in the money. Like, no, that's not.
We're looking at property right now, and there's office space that we like, but it's not on the main drag, right? Mm-hmm. The marketing's got to be there. They're not just going to be, escape rooms are right there as they pass by on the main road. But there's some retail locations that we looked at as well, but it's 2 to 3 times more expensive. And so it's kind of a trade-off. I see why a lot of escape rooms are not in these retail areas that would be expensive, at least not for their first location.
But the walk-up traffic for a game like the escape game, which is in a mall, is incredible because they have
I can't imagine their rent.
But they have multiple games and they're public, so they're
And they're
just filling
public.
the
Yeah,
rooms.
it's true.
So they're able to get more people through and more money coming in. So they are able to have a better location with better, like with more staff, not better staff, but more staff.
Right.
I mean, their staff is great. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm just saying, like, the better location, bigger staff, like, it's great.
Yeah, but you don't get assigned a staff person the whole way through like you do, which I feel like when we go to the escape game, and I really like the escape games, but you're taken in by one person, and then when you come out, you're taken out by another person. It's like, what happened to Julie, or what happened to Tom, you know? And so I like when I go to like a smaller mom and pop place, and you almost feel VIP-ish, right? Like, I got my own game master. That always feels good.
Especially when the game master's like the owner or something too. You're like, oh, how special am I? Like, I got the owner.
Right.
Well, and y'all have some great staff too. Your social media is just amazing with them, and they're a big part of that. How'd you find the good staff? What are some of the challenges with that?
So it's very challenging. Our staff, we have some great people. The problem is they're not always available, and so we're actually hiring again, keeping people on that can work every Saturday is a huge challenge. But I think the reason our staff is great is because it comes from above. Christine and I have a clear passion for escape rooms. We really love the customers. We provide an environment that is very welcoming and passionate towards people that like escape rooms. And that's who we hire, and we teach that. And we won't stand for anybody saying anything bad about a customer. We just immediately kind of shut that down and get rid of that. And it's really, really important to us. So I think that's where a lot of that comes from.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like staffing got considerably harder after COVID. Do you just go, okay, I want to find staff that has a great personality, I could teach everything else, or specifically look for somebody who's got also kind of a love for escape rooms?
I think for me, the biggest thing is they have to have an energy when they walk in the room that makes me want to be around them. If they come in and I'm like, ooh, I don't think I could spend time in a room with this person for very long, they're not our people. And they have to be able to focus. So if in the interview they're all over the place, distracted by things in the room, if they can't handle me being distracting and getting up and leaving and coming back and making jokes and stay on task, then they're not going to be able to watch the game.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it. I can be
So
quite
it's very like
distracting.
a gut feel, right? When somebody comes in, because I feel like I've hired, especially in camp, I don't know if you feel this way, Chris, but when you meet somebody, you almost have that, okay, yep, I have this gut feeling about them. And whenever I went kind of off that, like I was like, okay, my gut says probably not, but I need
Always
staff,
regret
so
it.
I'm going to hire them. Always regret it. Always
Yeah,
regret
go with your gut.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
pretty much how we do it.
Yep. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough.
It's very tough. It's one of the most challenging parts of the job.
And we don't require them to be in our social media. We ask them if they want to. I would never make anybody be on camera. We mostly target on doing everything ourselves and then using the footage from the guests. Sometimes the stuff, even the lip syncs from early on, were guests. Those were not staff. They were people who just wanted to be like in our TikTok. So we're like, hey, come do this dance with us. But yeah, I would never make a staff person if they're not comfortable being on camera. They don't have to be in our social media or do any of that.
Does that go for Jeremiah as well?
He has to be in it.
Right.
I mean, I suppose
crack up every time I see one with you, Jeremiah. I'm like, here we go.
If he's really like, no, I can't do this, then I'll be like, nah, you don't have to. If I'm like, hey, I have this idea, he's like, all right, let me find the wig or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. He's ready to go.
I'll do it. And I'm a little more comfortable than I used to. If you watch some of the older ones, I'm really stiff and very
thank goodness.
Very awkward.
No, but thank goodness he was, because our first viral video, I think half the views were because people thought he was a wax figure.
Yeah.
And then he moved and they were like, oh my God, that's a real person.
I love it. I love it. So many places still, they do not take team photos in the rooms. Right. And that's one of my pet peeves, I guess, with that, especially because I love getting those photos. And I'm like, if you're proud of your set design, show it off. There's always a place you can take a picture without spoiling anything. But you all take it like 18 steps further, right? You allow them to take photos, you encourage them to do TikToks in the room. And it's helped your social media. It's helped you to get the word out. I love it. Every time I talk to people about this, you guys are the case study, right? You're the ones. Do you feel like, obviously it works for you. Does that ever, when you go to other escape rooms, you go, why are you not doing this? Everybody should be doing this? Or does it work for you for some reason?
I mean, there's the occasional game that you play and you're like, I know why you're not doing this.
Sure.
But for the most part, yeah, we're like, why don't you allow it? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
I think the fear we had too was, are the guests going to try to spoil the puzzles? They are not. That is the answer. They are not going to try to spoil the puzzles. Half the time, they don't even think to take a photo in the room. They forget at the end. They're like, oh, shoot, I wanted to go take a photo with that prop. Can I? And we're like, yeah, we have time. Go ahead. But they don't want to spoil it for anybody else.
Yeah.
They just want to make a memory with their friend at their birthday party. And they want to remember that time that their friend did the silly thing or made the silly face or found the answer. They'll actually, like, I've watched people specifically try not to give away the answer and still take photos in the room. And I'm like, you're not going to give it away. The way we built the game, it's pretty hard to give it away unintentionally.
Yeah, I feel like it's movies where there's that twist. Nobody wants it, like the crying game, right? Nobody wants to give the twist away. So they don't say. Yeah, that's true.
Do you feel other escape room people should do that? Other owners and other businesses?
It's one of the first things that we tell people. Yeah, when we're in a game and Christine will ask if she can use her phone. They'll be, oh, no, you can't take photos inside. And we'll always be like, why not? Sure, they should. Right now we have the edge because we're the only ones that allow it.
Yeah, so everybody don't. That's fine.
That's right.
Continue not allowing it. We don't care what you do. Don't do it. It's fine. We have more people than that come and play specifically because they saw us on social media or their friends posted a picture and it looked fun. And you don't have that advantage, so that's fine with us. Go for it.
We know when we see the fancy camera come out.
Oh, yeah.
Walking towards the door that they came because they got to take photos in our game and nobody else would let them. And they're excited, and we're excited for them because we get excited when people take advantage of that.
Can I bring my camera bag in the room? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been to rooms. Curt and I went to one, in fact, that they made us lock our phones up in a locker. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
That's pretty normal.
Yeah, that used to be
crazy.
Well, and here's kind of the irony or the funny part of it. So back the original Exit game, that when Jeff owned Exit Game, he was so strict about what you could bring in the room that he would wand you down. You couldn't have anything in your pockets. So now the new owners, they say, bring everything in. But he wouldn't allow phones. He wouldn't allow keys. Nothing. You couldn't have anything.
That is funny. You couldn't get further away from that. We're getting older, so we need the flashlight part of it. We're like, listen, we're not taking pictures, but we need. Are you going to give us flashlight? We can't read the locks.
Yeah.
And so now Tina and I, we just carry like little keychain flashlights. We're like, okay, we're not going to. We'll just use this.
I definitely feel like if a game isn't lit well enough for everyone to be able to see and they're not going to allow your phone, they should have mini flashlights just in the office. That should be a given. I mean, we actually have additional flashlights.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't want to take their phone in and they're like, I can't see in low light, and we're like, here, here's a flashlight.
Nice.
Like, that's fine. But we do allow phones. So like you could use your phone light if you wanted. I actually would say that telling people not to use their light is for a lot of times is more important than telling people not to take photos, because the lighting in the game, if done properly, is telling you where to go next. And if you're using a flashlight on your phone, you're lighting usually the entire room, because they're very bright flashlights on phones. And so if you're lighting the entire room, you may be missing really important information on what to do next.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like our very first thing in our room has a spotlight on it, and people will miss it. If they're using their flashlight to look around the room, we know they're probably not going to see it, because they're not focusing on taking in the room as it was designed. They're focusing on what they might find written somewhere tiny that was like left on a pipe that we didn't notice and didn't sand off or something, because they're looking for something different than what we were telling them to.
Right, right. One of the things that I find is amazing, as we were traveling around the country, Southern California has like the best escape community. It seemed like all the owners, like you would go into a place and you'd see rack cards of all the other escape rooms. Do you find that? Do you have a lot of owner friends?
Yeah, very much so.
Are there owner meetup groups?
There are.
Are there?
So the
That's
owners,
cool.
the owners throw a big holiday party every year, right
Really?
before the busy season starts, and we all get together. It's usually organized by Madison and Luke at Crossroads.
Shout out to Maddie and Luke for
Nice.
helping build such an amazing
building the
community.
community.
That's awesome.
And this year it was at Slashers, because now they own an axe throwing place that's big enough to have everybody come by. But in the years past, it'd be in a local brewery. And there'll be different meetups throughout the year sometimes. The reason that National Escape Room Day exists is because of Madison and Luke, once again, even though we did host it last year. But that's putting all of the owners together and doing mini
Yeah, explain
games.
that a little bit. What is that? How does it work?
So it's October 1st every year is National Escape Room Day. SoCal puts on a big event. They bring on at least 8 different escape room companies that put on free mini games. And then they put raffles out, and we did trivia this year. And it's just a big party for the entire community to come out and celebrate the SoCal escape room scene and get discount codes and meet with owners. And just hang out for usually about 3 or 4
hours. At like a park or a community center?
We do it at a brewery. We did it at Stereo Brew. We do it at Stereo Brewing every year.
Okay.
And Stereo Brewing has always been absolutely wonderful at accommodating us. We do it in their parking lot, where we can set up tents.
Cool.
And we were able to use their bar for the trivia this year.
Nice.
And we even used where they actually brewed the beer. We did that to do a panel. We put a panel on that had some of the original escape room creators to talk about the past 10 years of escape rooms. And
you get a big turnout?
Yeah,
I think we had about 600 people.
Wow.
So fun fact, I saw that online last year. That somebody had just posted. I don't know how maybe it was on a Facebook page or something, like, oh, there's a National Escape Room Day. So we celebrated it here in Indiana as well.
Oh, good.
Put a little thing out for my camp, like, come to my room, half price today, and kind of.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool.
It extended to the Midwest.
That's really cool.
It actually is something that I think they celebrate. It's nationwide.
There's other places that will celebrate it, but I think SoCal's the only one I know of that has a full-on big event for everybody.
Nice. All right. What advice would you give somebody who's starting a new escape room business?
Well, I'm going to steal Madison's answer for this, which is don't. But if you're not going to listen to that, then
I will not.
Just do it because you love it. It's the only reason to open up an escape room. It doesn't make sense any other reason. It's very hard. It's very trying. It's very stressful. But it's wonderfully fulfilling if you do, in fact, love escape rooms and love being part of the escape room world.
I feel like the irony, though, is that you're spending so much time that you no longer have time to go play escape rooms.
Yeah.
Right.
If we didn't own an escape room, I think we'd probably be at over 1,000 games.
Oh, easy. Yeah, easy.
I think that it's really important to design games that you think are fun but also take into consideration that there are people who think differently than you and include them in your design. But you want to be building and running something that you're passionate about, not something that you're just trying to get done, because you're going to be with it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a project that, at the end of the week you get to go, well, I turned it in, now I can move on. Like, you're going to be with it for a while. So you want it to be something that you enjoy, you care about, you're excited to go in and do every day.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
And I think one of the pieces of advice that I always try to explain to other owners, although there aren't many new owners in SoCal, pretty much everybody's been around longer than we have, but I really firmly believe, don't build your game just for enthusiasts. Don't be obsessed about enthusiasts playing. Build your games for an average player, for new players. And I really truly believe that that's very important for the community as a whole, to still have games that new players can enjoy.
And safety. Oh my gosh, make your game safe. There's nothing worse than when a game isn't safe. And we don't see it much anymore, but we used to see it a lot. We're like, did you pass fire code or did you sneak this in? Like, what? No, this isn't safe. Because if something happens, not only will the people involved in the incident be injured, but you could injure the whole industry. Because if that kind of thing hits the news, which it did years ago, it made people afraid to be locked in a room.
It shuts down entire cities.
And they should be afraid because you've got people's lives in your hands when they're in your game. And if they are locked in that game with no way out and something happens, a natural disaster or something, I know it seems like, oh, that'll never happen. But what if it does? Also, just basic safety. Like, don't make people climb a wall without a harness, stuff like that.
Unless you're in Europe.
We've heard, and overseas it gets a little questionable,
a little dicey.
But in the United States, if you do something like that and somebody gets hurt and complains, you could shut down the entire city.
Oh, you're done. Yeah.
So be respectful of your neighbors and your community, and build community in your city if you can. I know not everybody's open to it, but like, it's such a big part of this kind of business.
Yeah.
Like, you're not competing against your local escape room. If you're not lifting each other up, you're both losing.
So what if the other escape room is really, really bad?
Help them.
What if they don't want help?
I mean, sometimes
what if it's just a money grab?
Sometimes there's nothing you can do, but really, if it is somebody who's open to being helped and they just don't know how to do tech, or they just don't realize they can still buy a new directional lock, and even though theirs is busted, they could replace it.
For sure. That was the one thing, like I said, in Southern California, was just very impressive. It's also the same in the Carolinas. Their owners do a lot of stuff together. They lean on each other. They help each other, and really
Portland seemed that way too.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
When we were in Portland, I was at was it Comic-Con?
Yeah, Rose City Comic-Con.
I was at Rose City Comic-Con, and there was a booth with multiple games there. They had pitched in and put up a booth with the hot seat.
Okay, you're going to have to explain the hot seat to me. I don't know what that is. The hot seat,
it's a pop-up little escape room mini game that somebody sold out of Europe.
Yeah,
we saw it in Wisconsin.
Indie Storm or one of the.
Yeah.
It's like a clear box with a seat in the middle, and you go in and you have to push this button, and once you push the button, you can't let go of it, but you have to do all the puzzles while you're alone in the box solving the puzzles. And you have, I think, 5 minutes, and everybody can watch you the whole time. And so I went to Rose City Comic-Con with some friends, and I played this because I wanted to, play it, and I wanted to support the escape room booth and get people excited to come over to the booth and meet all these different owners that were there promoting their games. And I was really excited, and I was really bad at that game. Like, I lost hard. And my friend filmed it for me, and then I was like, well, we'll just put it up on our social media, and it's probably our most watched video.
Really? Oh, I'm going.
That's
yeah,
funny.
I gotta check that out.
12 million views,
Something
maybe?
like that.
Something like that.
Oh,
It's pretty
goodness.
wild.
And it's just me losing the end of the game, just me losing the hot seat. And it's very funny, but but it was so cool to see them all there.
Yeah.
And I was just so excited. That's probably part of the video too. I think I was just so excited to be able to be in there and see escape rooms at Comic-Con because I just loved escape rooms so much. And my friends were there and I was like, guys, we're going to play this hot seat.
That's cool.
And I'm like, I'm going to lose bad too because I'm really bad at doing these things under pressure when everyone's watching by myself while I have to do another thing like hold a button down. I'm not exactly flexible.
I think this is what new players just going into escape rooms, that's the worst part is that they don't want to look stupid in front of their friends or family.
Exactly.
I still feel like I'm like, thank God for Tina because I wouldn't get through anything. And when I go with Chris and his wife, Carrie, when the four of us will go, Chris and Carrie are really good at puzzles. And I'm just like, okay, is there a ball I can throw? I'll do that. But
I don't think he's giving himself enough credit.
No,
that's the passion we have as well.
He's not. We've seen you play. You're fine.
You're good.
You did just fine.
I'm as average gets, and I'm okay with that.
He is very good at like the Simon game. We did this one room, and
I am good at the Simon game.
And we're just like, here, I can't remember this stuff. Give that to Curt. So can you all tell us a little bit about your next room?
It's a cat themed game. You are a cat trying to be reunited with your owner. You've found yourself in a pet shop, and you are with the help of a very helpful mouse in the corner. He's guiding you to find the phone number, be able to find items, to be able to find the phone number, to give the phone number to the owners of the adoption area to be able to call
to get you home.
You
gotta
Please
get
tell
home.
me there's going to be some cat ears that players have to wear.
We're never going to require anyone to have to do anything.
But they're available.
We will have things you can.
We have props. We're looking at different like wardrobes and props and things to have in the room. We know people like to put things on and wear them.
Have you played any games where you're like pet games kind of thing?
Yeah.
We've played Spy Dogs.
Spy Dogs. That
Spy Dogs?
Game.
Yeah.
The game that's not around anymore.
We played Doggy Dog World, which is fantastic.
In North Hollywood?
You were a dog in that game, and you were finding the ball that the postman stole from you, which is really fun. It was really, really a fun, cute game. And we were really inspired by that type of... We wanted something family-friendly. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen enough family-friendly games in our particular area of Orange County, and we think it's a market that's... can be tapped into.
And there was like Cat Kingdom up in San Francisco.
That's right. Kingdom of Cats. Yeah. There's
Kingdom of Cats. All right.
There's a handful out there, but it's not like it's a brand new concept.
Yeah. Right.
It's something that we really wanted to do.
So if you're making it family friendly, are you focusing some puzzles on younger players?
We're working really hard to make the puzzles doable for kids. Like we want to have the majority of the puzzles be something kids can do. We get a lot of young players in our current game. Mm-hmm. And luckily, this is such an odd thing that I didn't think would play into it because I didn't think kids would play a horror game, even if it's a comedy horror game. Like I didn't think they would play it. Right. And we made it wheelchair accessible in a way that was like especially wheelchair accessible. The thing that you were talking about earlier where you're kind of seeing people in another room, we made that eye level for wheelchairs. And it just so happens that if everything is ADA accessible, like really, it's within reach of most kids.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it played out well that kids can do the game, like young players can play the game, and they don't need to have their parents lift them up to do stuff, or they don't need their parents a lot of times for the physicality of the game itself.
Just put a bunch of stuff for them to search for.
Yep.
Good. Kids love to search.
Yeah. But we're working on like puzzles that are very physical.
Yeah, they like that. We learned too, kids, if you have sounds, kids pick up on that, where adults are really good at blocking it out. Curt and I did one kind of an online one even. And like the adults like, no, that's not important. Just ignore that. We're like, no, it is. Your kid is right. Like, listen to him.
Yeah, the sound was a puzzle. So, and then the kids would pick it up immediately. Yeah, it's interesting.
But yeah, so we're excited. There's going to be a lot to do though, because we want the game to be a big game.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's not physically larger than our current game, but we want it to hold more people, like authentically have enough for them to do.
There's going to be about three times more puzzles.
So we're going to have about 3 times the amount to do in a slightly smaller space. And we want to make it so that we have a place for kids to really come and have their birthday.
Okay.
That's
and
awesome.
adults can come and have their birthday. But it's not going to be a really suitable game for 2 players to come, enthusiast or not.
There's too much to do.
Expect to get through it, even though the puzzles will be simple enough.
Right.
I tell you what, if escape rooms were around when I was a kid, just a few short years ago, that's what I would have been doing for every birthday. I would have been like, put my party here. So that's awesome.
And that's what we want. We really know that there are kids that are looking for what to do on their birthdays. And there's just not enough in our direct area that accommodate large groups of kids. Most of the ones in our area really don't want anything to do with kids. So we're like, send them to us.
Yeah.
We'll take them. And we've had very good experience with kids in our current game. And maybe that'll change when we have a game more designed for kids. Maybe we won't want the kids anymore. But the game, they've been always very, very, very respectful. Actually, we find kids to be more respectful to the game than the adults.
And now when I was there, you were working on another game. So that's put on hold right now, correct?
It's put on hold. It became extremely complicated, so ambitious, and so expensive. We just were kind of throwing money into the money pit. Where we needed to have something to make money back. Yeah. So we decided to go to the pet game, and then we'll go back to the sci-fi game once we have some more money coming in from the pet game.
Nice. So what's the best way if anyone wants to reach out, wants to follow you on social? What's the best way to connect with you guys?
Instagram really is the best. And I want to use this opportunity to apologize to Curt. I found a message that Curt sent me probably a year ago on Discord. And I just saw it. I don't have any of my notifications on for any of the personal accounts. And so I was looking for something else. And this message pops up that was almost a year old. So
that's so funny.
Message the business. I check the business regularly, but I don't check anything personal. So
okay. Now I know.
For anybody listening, message the business because I'm terrible about my personal messenger. Gotcha.
You mean on Facebook or on Instagram?
Instagram's probably the best. Exit Game OC. Okay. That's usually the easiest for us. Or email. I'm still all about email. Someone wants to shoot us an email. Sure. I'm good with emails too. I check emails pretty regularly as well.
That's so funny you say the Discord thing. I think that was like during Recon. And I was like, I'm not going to take offense because I barely know how to use Discord. And I'm surprised I was even able to send a message.
It was so funny because I was looking for, I don't even remember what I was looking for, but I pulled it up and sure enough, there's this unread message from you. And I was like, oh my goodness, I never even looked. I never saw this thing.
No worries.
The business is definitely the best.
Awesome.
Well, and your TikTok is hilarious. So definitely follow the TikTok. Like you got some good ones on there. Even making fun of directional locks. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
People, it's so divisive. I love directional locks, but so many people hate them.
Yeah. People hate them. We try to teach people how to use them properly because that's really why people hate them.
I have made a shirt now. When I go into escape rooms, I wear my escape room shirt and it says "Squeeze the lock twice before you."
And we went to a room where he was wearing the shirt.
Yep.
And they went over the lock, and he's like
it's here.
I know.
You got it.
Well, but I don't blame them. So here's the thing. I make everybody open the directional lock because even people that say they know, even if they're wearing a shirt, well, maybe if they're wearing a shirt, but I've never had that yet. But even if they come in, they're like, yeah, of course I know how to do that. I was like, show me. Because I've seen it too many times where they get to the point and they start to get really mad because they push up before they pull down. And I have to get over the loudspeaker and say, just pull straight down.
Just
Right.
You're relocking your lock every time that you put it in.
That's true. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, thank you both so much for
Thank you.
taking the time. And I was awesome talking with you again. And
You as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we look forward to when your games open up, Curt. It's
yes. Well, I'll let you know when that is.
We'll be down there at some point. Hopefully we'll have games that will be running so that we can go and travel again.
Right. Love it.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, take it away.
This is Curt and Chris. Thanks for joining us on another tasty episode of Mystery Soup. Until our next culinary concoction, may your clues be clear and your escapes be triumphant. Keep puzzling, my friends.
See ya.
Mystery Soup. Mystery Soup. Mystery Soup.